The Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, HAMC, is one of the most infamous and well-known biker organizations in the world. Established in 1948 in California, the Hells Angels have grown into a global club with chapters in numerous countries. With their distinctive logo and a reputation for living outside the law, the Hells Angels have long been a symbol of freedom, rebellion, and brotherhood. However, this image has often clashed with law enforcement, leading to numerous legal battles and high-profile prosecutions. In this video, we'll dive into some of the most significant legal cases brought against the Hells Angels. We'll explore how these legal battles have impacted the club's operations and examine the broader implications for biker culture as a whole. The origins of conflict, law enforcement vs. The Hells Angels. The Hells Angels were founded by World War II veterans who craved the sense of brotherhood and freedom they experienced during the war. Motorcycles became their symbol of independence, and the open road represented a way to escape the conformity of post-war America. However, as the club grew in size and notoriety, it began to attract the attention of law enforcement agencies. From the beginning, the Hells Angels were seen as a countercultural group that rejected societal norms. Their involvement in criminal activities such as drug trafficking, weapons smuggling, and violent confrontations with rival gangs made them a target for police and government agencies. The Hells Angels have always maintained that they are a club of motorcycle enthusiasts, not a criminal organization, but their reputation has often led to intense scrutiny and legal action. The 1960 ES, the rise of media attention and legal challenges. The 1960s were a pivotal decade for the Hells Angels, both in terms of their growth and the legal challenges they faced. This period saw the club rise to national prominence, thanks in part to the media's fascination with their outlaw image. Books like Hunter S. Thompson's Hells Angels, The Strange and Terrible Saga of the Outlaw Motorcycle Gangs, and numerous news reports painted a picture of the club as a dangerous and rebellious group. This increased visibility brought the Hells Angels into direct conflict with law enforcement. One of the earliest and most significant legal battles during this time was the 1965 raid on the Hells Angels Oakland clubhouse. Law enforcement agencies, including the FBI and local police, conducted a large-scale operation, arresting numerous members and seizing weapons and drugs. While many of the charges were later dropped or reduced, the raid marked the beginning of a long-standing legal war between the Hells Angels and law enforcement. It also set the tone for future prosecutions, where the club would be portrayed as a criminal organization rather than a group of motorcycle enthusiasts. The 1970s and 1980 SRICO and the War on Organized Crime. The 1970s and 1980s were marked by significant legal challenges for the Hells Angels, primarily due to the introduction of the Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO, in 1970. RICO was designed to combat organized crime by allowing prosecutors to charge individuals within an organization for participating in a pattern of criminal activity. RICO became a powerful tool for law enforcement agencies targeting the Hells Angels. The act allowed prosecutors to go after the entire club as an entity, rather than just individual members. This led to several high-profile cases, where the Hells Angels were charged with crimes ranging from drug trafficking to murder. One of the most notable cases was the 1979 conviction of Sonny Barger, the national president of the Hells Angels, and several other members under RICO charges. The prosecution argued that the Hells Angels operated as a criminal enterprise, and Barger, as its leader, was responsible for the illegal activities of its members. Although Barger and others were eventually acquitted of some charges, the case set a precedent for future prosecutions against the club. The use of RICO against the Hells Angels continued into the 1980s, with numerous cases brought against chapters across the United States. These legal battles drained the club's resources and led to increased scrutiny from law enforcement. However, the Hells Angels remained resilient, often winning acquittals or having charges reduced, which only added to their mythos as an outlaw group defying the system. The 1990s international expansion and legal repercussion. As the Hells Angels expanded internationally in the 1990s, so did their legal troubles. The club established chapters in Europe, Australia, and Canada, bringing them into conflict with law enforcement agencies around the world. This expansion led to several high-profile legal battles in countries outside the United States. One of the most significant international cases occurred in Canada, where the Hells Angels became involved in a violent turf war with rival biker gangs. This conflict, known as the Quebec Biker War, resulted in numerous deaths and drew the attention of Canadian law enforcement. In response, the Canadian government launched a massive crackdown on biker gangs, including the Hells Angels. In 2001, a major operation known as Operation Springtime led to the arrest of over 120 Hells Angels members in Quebec. The charges ranged from drug trafficking to murder, and the prosecution aimed to dismantle the Hells Angels' criminal operations in the province. While some members were convicted, others were acquitted, and the club continued to operate in Canada, albeit with a reduced presence. In Europe, the Hells Angels faced similar challenges. Countries like Germany and the Netherlands launched investigations and prosecutions against the club, accusing them of involvement in organized crime. These legal battles highlighted the global reach of the Hells Angels and the challenges law enforcement faced in curbing their activities. Recent legal battles, the modern-day war against the Hells Angels. In the 21st century, the legal battles against the Hells Angels have continued, with law enforcement agencies around the world seeking to curb the club's activities. Despite their long-standing presence, the Hells Angels have faced increasing pressure from both local and federal authorities. In Australia, for example, the government introduced anti-behar laws aimed at disrupting the activities of outlaw motorcycle clubs, including the Hells Angels. These laws allowed for the banning of club colors, restrictions on gatherings, and harsher penalties for crimes committed by bikers. The Hells Angels have challenged these laws in court, arguing that they infringe on their rights to freedom of association and expression. However, the legal landscape in Australia has become increasingly hostile to outlaw motorcycle clubs, making it more difficult for the Hells Angels to operate openly. In the United States, the Hells Angels continue to be a target of law enforcement operations. In recent years, the club has faced legal challenges in states like California, Arizona, and Nevada, where authorities have accused members of involvement in drug trafficking, weapons smuggling, and violent crimes. High-profile raids and arrests have led to the conviction of several Hells Angels members, though the club itself remains active. One of the most significant legal battles in recent years involved the Hells Angels' attempt to protect their trademarked logo. The club's death head logo is one of the most recognizable symbols in biker culture, and the Hells Angels have fought fiercely to protect it from unauthorized use. In 2010, the Hells Angels sued the fashion brand Alexander McQueen for using a design similar to their logo in a collection. The case was settled out of court, with McQueen agreeing to stop selling the items in question. This legal battle over their logo highlights the Hells Angels' efforts to protect their brand and identity, even as they face ongoing legal challenges related to their activities. Implications for the Hells Angels and biker culture. The legal battles and prosecutions faced by the Hells Angels have had significant implications for the club and biker culture as a whole. These challenges have forced the Hells Angels to adapt and evolve in order to survive in an increasingly hostile legal environment. One of the most notable impacts has been the club's shift from overt criminal activities to more covert operations. As law enforcement pressure increased, the Hells Angels became more cautious and secretive in their activities. This shift has made it more difficult for authorities to gather evidence and secure convictions, but it has also led to a more insular and secretive culture within the club. The legal battles have also had an impact on the public perception of the Hells Angels. While the club has long been seen as an outlaw group, the media coverage of their legal troubles has further cemented their image as a criminal organization. This perception has made it more difficult for the Hells Angels to operate openly and has led to increased scrutiny from both the public and law enforcement. Despite these challenges, the Hells Angels remain a powerful force in biker culture. Their reputation as a symbol of rebellion and freedom continues to attract new members, and the club's global presence shows no signs of waning. The Hells Angels have proven to be resilient in the face of legal challenges, and their ability to adapt and survive has ensured their place in the history of biker culture. The legal battles and prosecutions against the Hells Angels have played a significant role in shaping the club's operations and its place in biker culture. From the early days of police raids in the 1960s to the modern-day challenges of anti-beaky laws and RICO prosecutions, the Hells Angels have faced numerous obstacles in their quest to maintain their independence and way of life. These legal challenges have forced the Hells Angels to adapt, becoming more secretive and cautious in their activities. However, they have also solidified the club's image as an outlaw group, both feared and admired by those who follow the biker lifestyle. As we look at the history of these legal battles, it's clear that the Hells Angels have left an indelible mark on both the legal system and biker culture. Their story is one of defiance, resilience, and the ongoing struggle to maintain their identity in the face of adversity. This video captures the complex relationship between the Hells Angels and the legal system, offering a detailed look at how these legal battles have shaped the club's operations and its broader cultural impact.